I was listening to 1862. Oh, I don't know how far through now. But that time in Liverpool, I said it was a difficult time and so on, and moving back south. Miracles, God talking to one in that sense. I mean, bizarre miracles, like I was alone for a few weeks in the house in Liverpool, with feeling wretched because my wife was south, she'd moved ahead of me with our young son, baby, well, a bit more than a baby. I don't know how old he was then. Possibly 9 or something. And, no, I think it's just starting school age, that's right. And I was fasting because things were difficult and I wanted God's leading and so on. I mean, fasting for a good few days. Can't remember how long. I wake up in the morning, someone clapping. I mean, like this. Let me just check if that came out. Yeah. And that would wake me up. And I think, I must have missed. I don't know what that was. But I mean, it happened regularly. And, provision like these two girls, they wanted to rent the place just when we needed to move south. And they stayed in it right until we sold at a time when you couldn't sell a house in Liverpool. And people move out of Liverpool, they don't move into it. This was in the, I don't know when this was. Was it the early 80s or something? Or late 70s? I mean, it was, Liverpool had been wrecked by, the port of Liverpool had been transformed into a container port, or to the north of it there was a container port opened, and that was the end of Liverpool docks. I mean, it was just staggering, the unemployment and the chaos that caused. And we sold our place. Would you believe it? And I found amazing provision of accommodation down south, out walking one afternoon from the school and stopped at a cafe, and she said, well, I'd like someone on the premises who should let me live in the place without paying rent. As far as I can remember. It was amazing provision. I mean, didn't have the money to pay rent because we were pretty desperate on all financial circumstances at the time. And she said, you could live in the sort of accommodation upstairs over the cafe. I need someone in it at night. There's nobody at the country area like this, and I'm worried people might break in and so on. And she used to leave me all sorts of nice food from the leftovers of the day of the cafe. Tea house, God, what a provision, what an angel. And I was alone in this place, and I'm happy because I was alone, but so conscious of God. And transport, I've gone on trains that were just not supposed to be running, or just a diesel pulling one coach because of the snow, and everything's come to a standstill. And I get home all the way from Essex to Liverpool to visit my wife when I'd moved ahead of her at that point for teaching in Suffolk. I mean, you could scarcely drive to the station, and the train comes in at, I don't know, something like 10 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, or 8 even, whatever it was. And it was diesel instead of an electric, because it was an electric line. And it was pulling a mail truck and a carriage. I mean, how amazing. And that took me to Colchester, and there the train was running to London, and from London I got to Liverpool. You couldn't believe it. Bad weather, really seriously bad weather, bringing the transport of commuters to an absolute wipeout. They couldn't travel. And I'm on a train to London. Cold, no heating in it. No heating in the carriage. And it's, I don't know, hour and a half travel, whatever it was, hour and a half. Probably longer given it was bad weather. But provision, lifts. I could arrive in this country place at the station at night, walking up to the cafe I was talking to you about in Suffolk when I was marooned, so to speak, down there teaching. And it's the last train. There's no transport, and I've got, well, I don't know, 2 miles across the Crouch. Is it the Crouch River there? No. Yeah. Is it? I don't know, one of those rivers anyway. Stour. Perhaps it's a Stour. Yeah, of course it is. And it's a long walk at night. No lighting. And hardly any traffic. And country roads, winding roads, and then trees on a narrow road going up the hill to East Burgold. And I got lifts from this several times from the same guy, a social worker coming home, a social worker that lived in East Burgold, would you believe it, and was working in East London, I think it was, or West London even. It was bizarre. And he's coming home at that time of night regularly enough. And, you know, God's provision of transport, it just gives me a lift and talks about social work. And I'd been a social worker, well, I was now a trainee, and I was a trainee in the past. And my wife was a qualified social worker. But, you know, the whole thing was incredible provision, miracle upon miracle. It was extremely hard, but you just knew God was with you. And the teaching was difficult. I mean, I was there because the previous 2 teachers had given up. One class in particular, which I had several times a week. Yeah. Miracle upon miracle. Yeah. I've had several times in my life when I've gone through great difficulty, and that trust in God wonderfully being with one in some way. Yeah. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Do you know my wives, plural, and I have gone into the ministry more times than I can remember and come out again. I wouldn't take no for an answer. God didn't want me in a flaming religion, did he? I was just insistent. Yeah. Religions can be a nightmare, you know. And they can be a great blessing as well. Yeah. It's as if I've been between 2 stools in my life. An economist and a Christian. And the two are rarely found together, I can tell you. Have I met one other in my life or 2? I've met 2. Yes, the one in New Zealand. And the other one was from New Zealand. And I'm the 3rd. There may be others, but you know what I mean. Very rare indeed. You don't get... There's some subjects in the social sciences that you don't get Christians in. Most of them. Whereas physical scientists you do. Mathematicians, physicists, chemists, biologists, yes, they can be Christian, religious. Sociologists, political scientists, economists, you're not very likely, I can tell you. Amazing, isn't it? I wonder if it's they're so desperately trying to be acceptable to the physical sciences, who despise them, of course. Wishy-washy social scientists. That a social scientist has to reject anything that's even more far-fetched, like religion. And so they do. You know, the economists, we're men of the world, you know, we're the people that advise governments and bankers and big corporations and so on. I mean, we're men of the world, you know. It's all make-believe, isn't it? I don't mean they haven't been a tremendous blessing to me. They have. You know, I could transform a staff seminar. Some visiting speaker, you know, would come. I think we had one once a week during term time. It was just for staff or and a few graduate students if they want to be there, you know. And I say this recklessly, let me say it. I could transform a meeting from a secular situation in which everyone was far from being a cooperative team. They were being secularly competitive, scoring points off each other, you know, ready to find the fault in whatever was being presented and look smarter than the other person, and so forth. I could transform it into a cooperative fellowship place that were just enjoying an afternoon meeting together, helping each other in their research. And it was because I would listen. You know, you'd only have, I don't know, a dozen or so people in the room. And I'd be concentrating, and I'd ask a question that would help the chap to be clearer on what he wanted to say. And I could at times come in and suggest that would be appropriate to apply to so-and-so too, wouldn't it? Would that work? And you know, I'm sure in the minds of the others in the room it was, what's his game? You know, it's fearfully competitive, the academic world, in some ways. If I've got something new, I don't let you know about it in case you publish before me. I certainly don't share it in the seminar. Seminars are ostensibly to share and to help each other, but in fact it's not about that at all. If you're left with without someone like me in the room, and I could transform it into a really enjoyable afternoon of helpfulness, and people thought the department was wonderful. Now, I may not have been alone in this, because there were other members of staff who were, for instance, quite devoted to students. They really did rescue students that were in difficulty. And that was lovely to see. But they were in a competitive situation with each other that didn't allow the same thing to come to the fore. And of course I did. And so they did. It was really good. I was still awfully bright, awfully capable, master of words. But not hated. Whereas normally, You know, it's fiercely competitive, the secular world, it really is. Yeah. Thank you, Heavenly Dad. Well, I'm thinking I haven't given God the glory here, have I? Been glorifying Marshall. But what I meant to say was, in every circumstance I was in life, I see where God's come to an incredible provision of blessing. You know, one of my closest friends at university was one of the lecturers, a chap called Norman Bromberger from South Africa. He'd been brought up in a religious family, and I mean, his dad had died because of a boil on his back that he wouldn't treat because he wouldn't let a doctor near it. It was God would prevail and heal him, you know. And when did, he died, went to heaven, I suppose. That was the understanding, I gather. But not my friends. I mean, he rejected religion as being absolutely hopelessly stupid. I think he nearly died when he realised I'd become Christian at some point. But what a wonderful friend he was to me through university, encouraging me. And beautiful campus. You know, I felt the gardens and the park, the lakes, within our house, this lovely, was it Edwardian or Victorian house? I don't know. I mean, no older than that, isn't it? As available for students. You know, nobody was enjoying the campus but Marshall. I mean, really. I don't know, we had a few thousand students. It was fairly new university, you know, concrete and glass. But lovely campus. And I would just walk in the grounds or along the river. That was the River Colne. Colchester is a Roman city. It was the capital before London, you know. And, or was it the first capital? I think it was the first capital, yeah, before Winchester, I think the other one was. And property and, dare I say it, wives. Wonderful people in my life. Absolutely lovely. Blessing from every quarter. Some amazing people. So many difficulties. And so much blessing. My soul longs for you, Lord. My soul longs for you, Heavenly Dad. I've had tremendous back trouble in my life for decades. Didn't run for decades, never ran. Missed very little work, but incredible stress of wondering whether I'd be able to, you know, even get from the classroom to the station to get the train home, or even be able to sit on the train. I couldn't stand all the way. That would be bizarre, you know what I mean? Or you find your back's gone in a street and you daren't move. You can't lay down, it's just a pavement and it's an urban street. And you're walking a couple of miles from the school to the station to catch the train home. And you've got a long train journey where you change trains and it's an hour or so, half, 2. And you can't move. You can't step forward and you can't step back. So you're standing there as if, what on earth's that man doing just standing there? You try doing that. Go along a pavement and don't just be doing something like having a smoke or something. I mean, I don't smoke, but you know what I mean? You're just standing there. And you think, oh, if anybody sees me that knows me, they'll think that's weird. And you can't move. And then after don't know how many minutes, you think, perhaps I can move just slowly. And you try moving forward. And you manage to do, I don't know, the next 3/4 of a mile to the station. And get on the train and, perhaps you can sit on the train. I can't remember, those times. And you do, and you manage to change trains all right. And then from one's own home and so on to the station is very short. It's only, well, if you were walking normally, 3 minutes walk, but 4 minutes walk. And you make it. And my first wife was lovely. She'd have always lovely meal cooking. She was an angel to me. Such a blessing. She ended up hating me in the end. Christian girl. Earnestly, wonderfully Christian girl. Wonderful wife, older than me, by about 6 or 7 years. 6 years, I think. Yeah. Gosh, she'd be 83 now. She won't have anything to do with me, won't talk to me on the phone. My third wife's like that too. All three have loved me. You can't believe it, can you? I mean, I don't mean you can't imagine that they wouldn't love me, of course. God's gift to creation, aren't they? But I mean, but to love someone and then not love, that's as big a mystery to me as conversion. How could I, a secular lad, so secular, become so obsessively spiritual, religious, whatever you like to call it? I mean, I don't belong to a religion because no religion was good enough for Marshall, was it? Only God. And I'm proud to say that. Only God is good enough for you. Not some religion, not someone else's view even, but your view of God, your relationship. That's what counts. And you feel this love, that's everything. The world can go its own way if it has to. You'll rescue it if you can, but if you can't, well, it's God's problem, not mine. Well, it is mine in the sense in that obviously anything God wants to do, I want to do, but you know what I mean, don't you? Yeah. Life is a fantastic experience. And it's far more fantastic than we can see or appreciate. It's the avenue to life eternal. And you must take it. In the end, you must come. God cannot have you fail. None in heaven can have you fail and be happy. It's as simple as that. Oh, didn't think I'd say that. But there you go. He's an all-powerful God and he loves you. Everything in your life is for a blessing. It's at times utterly beyond your comprehension, but not beyond your desire and ability to trust, because you long for him, and nothing else will do. Nothing else will do. So you come through. You probably knew from the beginning that all religion was about faith and trust. Well, it is. because we live in a world of uncertainty that gives us the freedom to work out our own salvation in a way, to live according to our values, the God that we love. And from that experience, to find the fullness of your God and life eternal, all powerful, all loving, for all love you, Heavenly Dad. Thank you, Dad.